Feeling like a shark in a shrimp tank. Big fish, small pond in the shrimp tank.
Hello, and welcome to the video wrap-up show for the Shrimp Tank podcast in Seattle. I'm Dan Whedon, and I'm joined by my co-host, James Alberson. James and I had a fascinating and fun conversation today with Jeff Kelly. Jeff is the owner of both Asset Lab Marketing and, as we spent most of the day talking about, Butterflyly. To catch the entire episode, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. We are all over the website. And if you want to see every episode, go to our website at shrimptankpodcast.com/Seattle. Jeff, I asked you this to start the show. I'm going to ask you again. Butterflyly is, let's just say it's a unique name. And we know that you are very active in marketing and social media and that you work with nonprofits. Would you share here the genesis of Butterflyly and what you do for your clients?
About 7.5 years ago, we started Asset Lab, a business focused on digital marketing for small and medium business. And when we did that, we had two company values that were very important and really guided the clients we took and the clients we attracted. And those are the values of transparency and community. And as we grew as a business, we found that we were attracting about 30% new clients coming in as nonprofit organizations and businesses. And so when we got to March of 2020, the world changed very quickly for businesses and nonprofits. And we were taking the time as a team to go through each of our customer groups. And our goal was to find a way to bring our expertise to each client so that they would save one employee. There's one fewer employee they would have to let go as a result of whatever change they were having to go through. And, we went through our caterers and we went through our lawyers and our financial advisors. And when we got to our nonprofit clients, it was really clear that they had lost the ability to fundraise if they were based on in-person events. And so I started making phone calls. Do you know what you're going to do now that you can't do in-person fundraising? No. Would you like help figuring that out? Yes. I call the next one, exact same. Do you know what you're going to do? No. Would you like help? Yes. So several of our clients hired us to help them with the fundraising strategy around shifting from in-person fundraising to online relationship building and generating funds through their online engagements. A couple of months later, we started receiving referrals for those clients because we'd been successful at doing that. And a couple months later, nonprofits were coming our way because they'd heard that we could help them raise money and make this change. And we knew at that moment that it was time to go ahead and make the shift and focus squarely on nonprofits. That was the moment that Butterflyly was needed and arrived. And the name comes from the idea of the butterfly effect. But unfortunately, butterfly.com was taken. And so we had to do something. And so my last name is Kelly. And so we added an LY to it. And that's where Butterflyly comes from.
That's a great story, Jeff. One question that I did not have a chance to ask during the full podcast is this. So clearly you came along at a time where a lot of nonprofits needed help and help to turn things around. I'm wondering if one particular client stands out that you really had the greatest impact with. Maybe they were circling the drain and you came in, Butterflyly helped turn things around. They're singing your praises, whatever it is. Does anybody come to mind?
Absolutely. We worked with an organization based in the Seattle area called ANEW. And ANEW provides pre-apprenticeship training programs. So these are people, as people are changing their career in life, if they're moving toward an apprenticeship, a trade, this is a training program before they go into that apprenticeship process. It's a 40-year-old organization. They celebrated their 40th year in 2020. And they came to us for help because they were concerned that their government funding that they'd had reliably for 40 years was now at risk due to the business situation in 2020, the tax situation in 2020. And so what the leadership team wanted to do is they wanted to open up a new funding source. And that funding source is fundraising. And so what we did is we took a very broad approach and we helped them design a week of giving style fundraiser to take place late in the year. And it would be a celebration of their 40th year anniversary. It would include an online fundraising event for their audience, but this was the very first time they had done any fundraising. They had always been funded through government agencies. So we decided to make it more interesting than that. We helped them create union versus union competitions between the carpenters and the metal workers. We helped them create a fundraising competition between the contractors where their students are eventually placed with. So now the contractors are competing to raise money against each other. So we wrapped it up in this bow of a week of giving. But what we were really doing for the organization is helping them diversify their revenue by bringing fundraising in and sponsorships in to start to allow that organization to have some stability in funding at a time when funding was a concern and they knew their funding was at risk. And so that's a really major transformation. They raised upwards of $350,000 in that first go, having never done an event before. And they now have a pattern they get to follow where they're activating the unions that benefit from their mission, the businesses that benefit from their mission, and also activate their past students, where their students get to volunteer and pour back in as they have had success in their lives, having been students through the program.
That's I'm glad to hear that. I'm familiar with the news, so I'm glad you came along. So it's a great program. There's actually even, I think, more to that in their particular clientele that go through their program, but we don't have time for that. So therefore, now that I've piqued the interest or the curiosity of individuals, they're going to want to know, hey, hold on a second, what's the rest of the story? Plus everything else you mentioned on the podcast. People are going to want to know more. How do they get in touch with you? What's the best way?
To get in touch with me, we're a digital marketing company. So please go to Google and search Butterflyly. It's spelled just like it sounds. We've got a website, butterflyly.com. You can call us, you can email us, you can fill out the forms on the website. We also have a podcast called the Nonprofit Fundraising Podcast. If you are an executive director or development director and you're looking for great ways to increase your revenue and engage your donors, that's a great place to learn more.
Fantastic. Well, Jeff, once again, thanks for being our guest on the podcast. For those who want to see the full replay of the podcast, you can go to shrimptankpodcast.com/Seattle. And you can also, if you don't want to do that, you can also go to wherever you get your podcast. It may be iHeart, it may be Apple, it may be Spotify, Stitcher. We are ubiquitous. So go find it, listen to it. It's a great show. And please also follow us on our social media pages, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. And for that, I'll send it over to Dan and we'll wrap up.
Well, Jeff, thank you. James, thank you as well. Everyone, please join us, as James said, every week at 12 p.m. Pacific for our live stream broadcast on our Facebook page. Our guest next week will be Steve Bean from True Benefits. Until we see you all again, please be healthy, be prosperous, and have fun. Because for right now, the shrimp, it's back in the tank. So long.
I've been feeling like a shark in a shrimp tank. Big fish, small pond, and the shrimp